Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here, and if this is your first visit here, please, I hope I earn you hitting that subscribe button, and of course I hope everyone will desire to hit that like button. We're going to be continuing here with Hearts of Iron, playing U.S.A. Now, I have not been doing this because I'm going to test this now, because it reduces peacetime consumer good needs, and currently we don't need any peacetime consumer goods. So, but let's see, does it like spam? I may just go back and go to the save that I just made. If this doesn't, money shortage, yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, we're gonna go back and reload. So I just wanted to test, see if it also gave out. Yeah, I know your screen is black. Don't worry, we're still here. See if it gave out any other like additional industry. So no, that was just a test. Sometimes those trigger another thing and pop up some industry. Okay, single player, load to save. And we'll take a look at the war in Europe. Okay, let's take a look at the war in Europe. The Dutch are barely holding out with Amsterdam and Rotterdam. The Belgians are about ready to have Brussels surrounded, and the Germans are getting ready to push into France. That is the conditions of the war in Europe right now. We're at peace in America. Encryption machines, good. Continue developing our bombers for when we get ready to produce them. Mexico money, tungsten, all right. Heavy bomber pilot training. Let's move that over to here. Mass pilot training. Ground crew. And machine gun focus, which I think is what is giving us 2 for advance and research. And we do CAG deck crew training. Oh, what? Gun position twin engine airplanes. Okay. Yes. Do some interception tactics. Twin engine pilot. Hmm. Oh. Oh, yeah. I know I get that canceled. I guess I No, no, I didn't get that canceled. There we go. There we go. That's the right amount. Ground crew. Hmm. Yeah, we're going to do nav tactics. And South Africa wants a submarine. Fine. Light armor designs. So we can do special purpose armor. But I think that may be... Oh no, it's 1940. Okay, we should do that. The U.S. did have a bunch of special purpose armor. They're Amtraks, they're amphibious tracks. Okay, I think we're gonna postpone resource training, or trading, I should say, not training, trading. Hello, son. How are you doing? Okay, so we're now have more chromite. Long range submarine classes, very good. No, thank you, Arno. I'm not gonna get in a war early. No, we're not buying supplies from Coaster. And your country can't be saved at this point. We'll save it eventually. We save it eventually. And it just gotta go through occupation first. You know, look. Why does the cavalry always come and save you in the nick of time? Well, if they got there before you were in such danger, you wouldn't appreciate the cavalry. It'd be like, hey, yeah, what are you doing riding around here? Oh, keeping the bad guys away, the Indians, whoever. No, no, you've got to come in. Well, we're about ready to get overrun. Oh, here comes the cavalry. You know, coming in and saving the day. Well, for you to appreciate us, you know, for the world to appreciate us, we have to come in and save the day. So if we had just like joined World War II right off, and you'd be going, America, what's it good for? You know, they're just always over here messing around with things. But you see, we let them take over. See, we're going to let Putin take over, you know, half of Europe again, and then we're going to help save the other half. So that way, you know, we look good, and you'll appreciate us more. You know, that's how it works. We just got, ooh, some CVLs. Okay. Those are fast light cruiser, or cruiser carriers. The Independence here. And we will put Princeton here. So what we're going to do now is there really that much at Oceanside? I guess so. Okay. Independence. Oh, it's he's down in San Diego. So Princeton and Battleship Division 1 are. Oh no, didn't get. R. We're going to get the Lexington out. And we're going to put the Princeton in. And that way we can then these and get that, which okay, I don't know. Okay, well, let's, oh no, that's in the right place. It's in the right place. Okay, so we have here, we need some more CAGs, but I know that anyways. And close support. And you can have, yes, some. And here, we're going to do something similar. I'm going to move the Saratoga out. The Independence in. And move up that one. This one up here, so we will now have period. Hello, Kyle. Wear the enemy out and then attack? Yeah, always a good idea. Okay, now we have one more. And I think we're going to put that into the town. Yeah. No, that's not what I wanted. Okay, nope. Oh, where is it now? Did it get over? I hit the wrong thing. Okay, okay, that's the Langley. Atlantic Squadron, no. Hate losing these things. Okay, that's the Princeton is supposed to be there, I think. The Bielo wood. Okay, no, it did get to the right spot. Oh, it did get to the right spot. Okay. Ah, no, okay. Good. And that's coming up to Saratoga. Okay, yes. Screen ended. No, here. Okay. We want to put that and the Yorktown here. So now we have massive air fleet. 4 main carriers and 1 light carrier. We still need to get some more ships with some decent escort. Battleship group with a carrier, though no a light carrier, but no CAGs yet. And similarly here, so we will do it. Thank you so much, Arno. Okay, improve security units. Nice. advance. We would give them money for supplies. Okay, if they want to sell us supplies, I'm hoping it is because they want the money and not because they think we need the supplies. Fighter pilot training. Now I haven't even started putting radars out into the Pacific. And bases. Okay, good. We're getting through some of these. I'm not going super strong on any of it, just basically upping a lot of the fort levels, pillboxes and beach defenses and whatnot. But just by one. Self-propelled artillery brigades, which are grayed out, good. Small arms advance, good, but that opens up here, so let's do these two. Fighter bomber prototypes, grayed out, good, and we'll do 4-engine armament research and twin-engine fighter prototypes. Now let's do tank destroyers, the M10s. Well, I don't know that I can build any radars out here because this is not my territory, so I can't. Yes, I would love some radar out here. I can build it here, but I can't build it in the Philippines. So you are right, but engine limitations, I guess. World HE gun. Not something I would really consider the Americans doing much of, but I figured we should at least research it. Well, let's do this. It reduces time between attacks, nothing else. Okay. Yes, you can have metal. Yes, you can have metal. Super heavy battleship classes advance. I don't know that I'm going to go beyond doing that once. Just having armor piercing cap advance. That we have a little more. Okay, destroyer classes advance. Nice. Maybe we're getting into the Fletchers. Let's do Hufta. Get that. Carrier aircraft prototypes. Good. Let's get some of these. Now let's look over here. Yeah, anti-air here. That'll be important. And we got gyro sites, good. I think that's a one and done. So let's do heavy AA for carriers. We want to protect our carriers. Yeah, let's take a look at that. No, okay, yes, you can have oil. Currently, our DDs are the Fletchers. Yes, the Fletchers. Okay, they're not absolutely the best during World War II, but they were definitely a bit later in the war, and even some earlier. They did make some destroyers, America did, that were a bit wider, and they had 3 gun turrets, each with 2 guns, for a total of 6 guns, where the Fletcher had 5 gun turrets, each single one. So, and definitely in games like War Thunder, you definitely have some better destroyers of World War II. But I do think the Fletchers are sort of the best. And why do I think that? They were just enough. Just enough. Just big enough. You know, they wanted to go originally with 12 torpedoes mounted on it, but that was going to make the ship a bit top heavy. They were able to add more 40 millimeter, add more as time went on, add more 40 millimeter guns to it. Early ones just didn't even have the 20 millimeters. They only had 50 cals, but they got to where you had what was it? 4 mountings of double 40 millimeters and 7 20 millimeter guns, and the 5-inch guns, all in single mountings. And one thing that does have them in the individual mountings allows them to be better anti-aircraft guns. And early war, you have timed fuses, so that you would, as you got ready to before you put the round into the chamber, you stuck it into another sort of chamber-like thing that would set the fuse, and then you would put it into the gun. So you just click, boom, just do that real fast. And that was being reset by right up here on the top. There's a sort of a rotating box up there that's part of the fire control computer. It's a analog, non-electronic. It's a mechanical computer, very expensive, rather big. A lot of it is being held down in the hull, and it's like calculating aircraft positions and constantly updating things. Where you're pointing the gun, but also updating the timer for the fuses to explode nearby the aircraft. So you have 5 different guns firing at the aircraft coming in, which can mean that some are being controlled centrally, and some of them, because they may be pointing in different directions, being controlled independently. And so the guns can, really, they're dual purpose. They're very effective. Late in the war, you're starting to see proximity fuses. So just get close enough to the aircraft, and the charge goes off. They have rather good anti-submarine warfare capabilities. We got 10 torpedo tubes, which later in the war, with when they're mainly looking at the Pacific, and it was specifically designed for the Pacific. It's a flush deck destroyer, so the destroyer, the deck is the same deck level from the front all the way to the back, which is just fine, and it's great for the Pacific. Probably the best for the Pacific. But a lot of the Atlantic ships, and particularly the British ones, and some American destroyers designed for the Atlantic, will have a higher deck in the front, because the Atlantic is a much rougher ocean, and so they would account for that. making a higher deck in front, there's some downsides. Yeah, sure, you get a little more volume of space internally, but if you're going to have two gun turrets, well, you want them both to be able to fire generally forward, so you've got to make the second gun turret also higher, so that moves your center of gravity of your ship higher. So displacement or weight of the ship totally, the total overall displacement does matter. But part of what it matters is the more weight you have higher, the more top heavy that ship becomes. And you need to either put more weight down in the bottom to counterbalance it, or you get a ship that's unstable. Now, ultimately, it could be so unstable that, just sitting there would capsize. Well, I don't think anything that they were even dreaming of doing on the Fletchers would have just done that. But if you make it a little too heavy up top, you get the situation when rough seas, it could capsize. If you're making violent maneuvers or other things out there that you could capsize the vessel. You just don't, you don't want to make it just barely stable, you want to make it very stable. So by having it flush deck, you've removed some weight of the ship to be able to mount these guns on them. So it works out to be a very good design. It's not perfect, obviously. They partially significant. I mean, they use the Fletchers even when some of the other gunned ships that, like in War Thunder, you see, hey, ZZ, that you might think that they would continue using more. No, they continue using the Fletchers, partially because it's a large class, well after World War II, and they're updated with, better radars and electronic controls and things like that over time. But and destroyers get bigger too, bigger displacement. But bigger displacement means, again, more mass, more resistance in going through the water. So this is just really sort of the perfect balance, not the best at any one thing of any of the classes of destroyers in World War II, but just sort of the best balanced out between all of the roles. Oh, like I was saying, they removed one of the torpedo sets of torpedo launchers for not all of them, not even, I don't think, most of them, but some of the later production or ones that were going back in for a refit, because they were seeing the situation in the Pacific that you probably weren't going to have too many large fleet actions and needing to shoot out a lot of torpedoes at enemy shipping, and they wanted them primarily to be more escorts for either convoys, troop convoys, supply convoys, those kind of things, or escorting things like carriers. And with that, the big thing they wanted to do was add anti-aircraft. So I think even some of them might have gone down to 4 guns. But definitely getting rid of the rear set of torpedoes allowed you to mount more 40 millimeter and 20 millimeter guns on the thing to just put up more flak. So yeah, I mean, they varied. There was even, I think, 5 of the early Fletchers had was it 2? I think 2 of the rear turrets were removed, so it was just down to 3 turrets. They actually put a catapult on it to launch an aircraft. And they found very quickly that, yeah, worked just fine. Wasn't perfect, it's sort of a small ship, crane, whatever, to launch and recover the spotter aircraft, which the best was the SOC Seagull was the best the Americans had, better than some of the of its replacements. But yeah, didn't need it. It just either the cruisers that it was operating with had, or battleships had spotting aircraft, or there was just enough carriers and other things. So the idea of putting a spotter on it, so they were all at one point brought back into dry dock, whatever, and the catapults removed and the original gun configuration added to the 5, I think it was, that had the catapults for the aircraft. So yeah, that is what we're up to now that we've upgraded. So these early ones, which we're not going to cancel, I think they're still going to be useful. and I just don't want to waste the production time on it. Okay, so we're going to get through hopefully some of these are meant to go fast, like the beach defenses. Okay, and pillboxes. So okay, beach defense, pillbox, fortress. Let's move that up. We'll get the beach defenses and the pillboxes done faster than the coastal forts or the fortresses on the islands. We'll get those done. Amphibious unit training advance. Okay, yes, our Marines. Okay, 41. That's good enough. So cancel that. Now, yeah, airborne unit. No, we haven't even put any production. We very likely will. Okay, division HQs. Is that over here? No, that is here. Okay, yeah, not that we can't do. We can do 41, but let's focus on things we can do efficiently. I really like that these reduce times between attacks as well. You know, yeah, sure. Having more HQs of cool types are nice, but no delay or less delays between attacks is very good. Yes, you complete oil. Uh-oh. The Netherlands have been conquered. Netherlands have fallen. Belgium is soon, and they're pushing into France. Export of copper to who? Cuba. No, we're doing okay, I think, on money, and it was a short contract for oil there, Ireland. And desert unit training, which I think is a one and done. Yes. Good, okay. Well, the Germans moved out of here enough that the Belgians or somebody pushed out. Okay, hydrophones. Let's do. And so, yes, small warship, anti-aircraft artillery control computer, like I was just talking about, they had. They even set up for the 40 millimeters guns on it, a smaller sort of aiming computer system for those as well, more than just simply the gun sights that was calculating all of that. The 20 mils were the sort of the largest ones that they never did a during the World War II. That is a sort of additional guidance, if you will, of what sort. I'm on target. Well, yeah, let's come over here and continue to upgrade our anti-aircraft artillery on our ships so they don't get sunk by aircraft. Okay, who are we trading with? Canada. Okay, yes, you can have Canada. You can have the and money, gold. Okay. Okay, artillery firepower focus. I think that might be yes. Okay, we've got all three of the AAs being researched for carriers. So let's come over to our next big valuable ships that we want to protect. So do the light artillery. firepower. Focus. Yes, you can have crude oil. Maybe it'll last a little while. Now, okay, we have more than enough coal. For now, at least. Wow, that did come through 88 base of coal in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. We have quite a bit of rare materials, lots and lots of oil, but not a whole lot of metal. And as soon as we get back a bunch of those things, modifiers there, we're going to need more metal. So I know we got plenty now, and we'll be plenty for quite some time, but I just don't like red up there at the top. So okay, we're gonna wait till we're a little over 23,000 there. Do that. Okay. Yeah, we'll continue this because this will help our garrisons on some of those islands be better. And yes. Yes, and this is why, because we have pop-up things for money. I want to make sure. So now my goal is to get a little over 22 because we just had one of those. Okay, so reorganize the war ministry. Export of Venezuela, no. Okay, now that we are over 22, we will do this, which will get us down to 2,000. More steel. Okay, metal in Buffalo. Buffalo, Ohio, I believe. This is Ohio. Let's go to industry view here. Columbus, Cleveland, Toledo. It's not Buffalo. Maybe it's not. No, this is Ohio. Oh, here. No, no. Okay, yeah, you're wondering why does Gamer not know his own? Was it Buffalo, New York? Yeah, here we go. Buffalo, New York. Okay. Gamer doesn't know his geography. Well, look, guys, you gotta understand. I'm from over here. Right around this area specifically, okay? Hung out in LA, Oceanside. That's where I've sort of hung out most of my life. And I really dig history, everyone. I read a lot of history. So, you know, things have happened along here, like the American Revolution. And down here, also the American Revolution, lots of action going down here. Yorktown is, well, is sort of right here, I believe. You know, it's a lot of stuff happened here. And then, of course, the American Civil War happens, you know, down here. And so read a lot about battles and, you know, campaigns, the Valley Campaign of Stonewall Jackson and whatnot. But if you get into parts of America where there isn't a lot of history going on, I get a bit weak, you know, on that because it just hasn't been much history to play for. Okay, so here, okay, well, we didn't up the steel refineries here because there wasn't much steel or metal. So we did do the coal, which got our coal going well, and we sort of needed that back at the time. But so we're going to get 30 more metal here plus 2 more. So good. Wild time. Build up because it sort of reacts as if it's been bomb damaged. if you will. Okay, give them crude oil, certainly. And what here? Rolling artillery barrages. Okay. Here and look at a cruiser light. Okay, we'll do that. So yeah, the more boring the history for an area, the less I know its geography in most cases. Ah, okay, and the yeah. The Great Dictator, Chaplin's The Great Dictator. Good movie. Of course, it's a anti-Hitler Mussolini movie that features not direct references to Hitler and Mussolini, but we can obviously see the the Hitler mustache on the character there, and they use instead of the swastika, it is the double cross, is what that is. Like to double cross people. That never understood in Hearts of Iron 4. If they have so much steel while the U.S. has very little, should be the opposite, with Germany being more dependent on Swedish steel. Okay, Kyle. Well, I have some first-hand knowledge of the development of it for Hearts of Iron 4 and that, and probably shouldn't even say what little I do, I am going to say on it. Resources are very well researched for Hearts of Iron 4. I have, in a minor way, contributed to it, including recently with some more stuff for oil in Hearts of Iron 4. I know the main researcher there, and I found some more oil. Though because it's a game and the way they're looking at it is they're not adding more oil. They found some figures of, I forget what year, 39, 36, I think it was 36, globally figures. Now are those and so then they take that as a baseline and then proportion it out from these, what areas were producing, total world production of crude oil in, I think, 1936 from some period source. Now, is that source correct or not? That's another question. But so they take that out, that is a baseline, and how many barrels here, how many barrels there, and or thousands of barrels or whatever, and then from that proportion out the amount of crude oil in the game. So when I find another oil field, they don't increase the amount of oil, they reduce it somewhere else and move it, add some over there because it was in a strategic location in Burma. Found some crude oil there, major oil fields that weren't in Hearts of Iron 4, where it really doesn't matter exactly where the oil fields are, say in the U.S. Like, missed some oil fields somewhere out here, because there are oil fields out in Pennsylvania. Still to this day, we think of as Texas and other places, but so it really wouldn't matter where the balance of oil within the U.S. so much, but it would matter here because Japan can get it. It helps them out. And so they found some good figures, and they went around and based it off of that, and they've done a lot of research, and they try to put it into the right locations with if they're doing enough volume, because I did, and then the guy I know, I'm blanking on his name, it's up in here, and then there's also some up in here too, but went and also did a little bit of research there and confirmed what I brought out as being enough that it should be on the map, as opposed to some small oil well. I'm talking about oil for the moment, and I know you mentioned steel. Yeah, the resource system in Hearts of Iron 4 has a lot of good with it. A lot of good with it. I have some quibbles with not just like placement of where the oil is or something. Some of the conceptual things. Stockpiling is way overdone here. Okay, it is way overdone, even for the U.S. in this stockpile. It is overdone. But they did stockpile more than from. I think it was either in the book or the documentary. It was a joint publication called The Prize, and it was done in the 90s. And the prize is of the 20th century, which is oil. And it looks at it. And they estimated in this documentary that Germany captures, they captured the French oil reserves in coming in basically intact. That are in France, whether they were in, occupied France or in unoccupied France, but Germany got it all. That their estimation is that it was enough operations for the total Wehrmacht for 1 year, which the Wehrmacht, of course, means the Luftwaffe, the Kriegsmarine, and the Heers, all three together. So they captured that much oil. So there's that much reserves in France. And I don't think Black Ice... I mean, they do allow you some reserves, and like in Hearts of Iron 4, I should say Hearts of Iron 4, not Black Ice. Hearts of Iron 4, they do allow you some levels of reserves, but this is too big, but theirs is too small. It's sort of pendulum. It swing too far the other direction. But it is a good system. I do like the way it works, and it is much more dependent upon, like if you want to do aircraft, you need more aluminum, but if you're going to do tanks, you don't need aluminum, you need steel. Things like that, as opposed to this is just whatever you're producing needs the same ratio of these things, so it doesn't matter. And now that they finally got oil away from production and into actually fueling tanks and aircraft and ships and whatnot, it's good now. When it first came out, that was bad. So it's gotten better. So knowing and being part of some of you get in a minor way, and I want to stress minor way, just a little bit here, a little bit there, with research on resources. They're doing a pretty good job. Now, Germany and steel. Okay. Nobody has enough steel to do everything. Even the U.S. has to make choices as to, ship production. What type of ships to produce? Do you produce Liberty ships, or do you produce battleships, or do you produce submarines, or landing ships, or destroyers, or whatever? Eventually you can't. To a point, you could, and they were expanding, dockyards and training up more and more workers and doing more and more production. But to a point, even America gets to where it has to make choices on the allocation of steel. Germany is somewhat dependent upon Swedish steel. Build only submarines, all hail submarines. Yeah, for some games things it may sort of work, but not in real life, of course. There is one area in Hearts of Iron 4 that is technically wrong, and I support it. And that is Swedish and the steel situation. They add a lot of tungsten to Sweden. Sweden, or Wolfram, however you want to say it, basically doesn't have any of that. Why is it there then? Well, they really don't know now, and it's sort of surprising that they don't know now. But the Swedish steel, steel itself, in and of itself, is an alloy, because it is an alloy of iron and carbon. But most iron is not pure. I mean, you could purify it, but most iron is not pure. What they believe, and they don't know the ratios, but they believe the iron that was being mined up here and turned into steel had tungsten in it. But it wasn't really so much steel that was coming out of here. There was steel coming out of here, absolutely, and in largest amounts. But what was critical about the Swedish steel, what it was high quality steel. You can make. You got all this oil over here. That's good. That's correct. It's high quality steel, and to the point to be used for critical steel elements like rifle, like gun, like tank gun barrels, or machine tool, the cutting bits on the machine tools, where you might want to be either using tungsten or tungsten enriched steel for the cutting bits. So the Swedish steel really isn't that big of a dependent upon that for Germany. Germany really, in my opinion, is not dependent upon Swedish steel for just pure steel. They have lots of iron mines. Now, I'm not the greatest expert in the world, and you can definitely, which I do like about Hearts of Iron 4, and we can see that they've sort of made this somewhat like Hearts of Iron 4 by adding like steel mills into places. You can expand steel in whatnot production. They don't use energy in Hearts of Iron 4. But you can expand it. And so, in reality, steel, all you need is two resources, iron and coal. Germany has plenty of coal. Germany has plenty of iron. Again, I'm not the greatest expert, but I do believe that all they've got to do is expand mining to do it, to get it out. I mean, it doesn't create more there, but just get more of it out quicker for the time period of the war, which of course would require some more tools to do it efficiently. Part of it can just be picks and shovels, but using explosives and pneumatic, sort of jackhammer type, but drill bits going in, doing some modern adding more modern mining equipment. Now, of course, we do see the use of slave labor with picks and shovels, whether mining, the Germans do, or creating underground factory tunnels, just the most crude use types for stuff that is wasteful. And of course, evil the way they were using it, but just also wasteful. But which, is adding more and, setting up, running rails, but you can pull up once you sort of don't need a section anymore. Rails in the mines with mine cars to get the stuff out. So a bit more industry to get more coal and get more iron ore out. Then you need to refine the iron, so you need more iron refineries, and then you can build more steel refineries. And Germany could do all of that. Now that takes away from building other things like tanks and aircraft. But Germany really is not dependent upon outside sources for a base level of functional iron and base level of steel. And we can see and you can look at some of the photographs before they pour the concrete of all of the rebar. They put in all of the, first the west wall and then the Atlantic wall that Germany is building. Not just the guns mounted on them, a bunch of the guns are, captured thing, leftover World War I guns that France, big guns that France had or whatever that they stuck in it too. But they're able to get enough rebar and other things to build all these bunkers. And they also build fortifications in the east. And, they've got a lot of steel and a lot of iron that's just okay. Maybe doesn't make it good because it needs to go through another treatment process to start making good armored, elements, for like tank armor and whatnot. But they've got lots of steel. Not enough to do everything they want, ever. They have to make choices. Oh, Germany lost here, got pushed out of here again. Okay. So it's not like unlimited amounts or enough to do everything they want. But Germany really isn't that dependent upon sheer amounts of steel. So the decision was made to simulate the sort of special steel that was coming out of here with putting it to being tungsten, along with the tungsten that was down in Portugal. We can see some here, and there was also some in Spain. I don't know if any of it made it to if it's as big at deposits, but there was some tungsten in Spain as well. And so they decided to simulate that here. So now U.S. has very little. Well, maybe you should, and I've not played, this is the first time I'm playing U.S. in Hearts of Iron, period, in 3 or 4. So I've not played the U.S. But maybe you just need to make more steel factories. Get those going. Get those producing in America. Because I do believe it has enough natural resources if you do that. So yeah, that's sort of the story of steel and or generally resources within Hearts of Iron 4. And I like I say, I have some, the main quibble is I totally agree that this is over stockpiling, but I think they've gone too far the other way. But yeah, no, they're doing a very good job of it. How do I put this? I don't trust the period analysis of things like oil production in 1936. Why don't I trust it? And I know it's, and I'm not saying, oh well, okay, I don't because I forget who, but I read the original source material that they were using for it. Okay, and that's sort of what the amount of oil produced in 1936. Well, look, people, oil production is partially a dependent upon need. So if you go 1936 and go, well, they were producing, 1 million barrels a day of oil. Okay, in the world, you add up all the stuff. So that's the baseline. And then if you want to increase oil production, you have to, build oil wells and do these other things and do the sort of research tree thing to expand it, blah, 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 blah. No, that is not real world how it works, people. That is not how it works. I have a family, I've never worked in the oil industry, but I have a family background in oil, and I've, talked to many family the family members who have worked in the oil industry, and that's not how it works. What it is, especially in this, 1930s something, 1936 particularly, Standard Oil is Standard Oil. It is the Standard Oil. It has getting near a monopoly of oil in America. Well, they're not going to produce more oil than they think they're going to sell. And they're not going to pull it out of the ground and store it in big tanks if they don't think they're going to sell it. They're still going to drill and get more oil wells to a point because you want to find and locate more oil for the future. But they were drilling and capping oil wells. Oh, man, we found, gusher, cap it down, close it. Okay, take that, exploration drill, go somewhere else, look for another oil field, and just leave it capped and not pull anything out of it. Now, Germany, who is in need of oil and does have some natural oil up and around here, and is trying to expand its synthetics, does try to develop a strategic oil reserve but they're importing and producing all the oil that they can. So they are. But places like the Soviet Union and Baku, if they can't ship the damn oil out of here because literally the ships or the pipelines can't move any more oil, you can only move 100,000 barrels of oil a day out of Baku, they aren't going to produce any more oil out of Baku. But that doesn't mean that they literally can't, some guy walk over there, get a big wrench hammer thing, and unscrew a valve, and out comes more oil right now. Okay? Now, yeah, I already said that the oil may be maxed out in its pipelines, but maybe not, because, again, the Soviet Union is having economic problems and is not overly industrialized. They're trying to, how many tractors do they have? How many automobiles they have? How many trucks do they have? Some, absolutely, but not huge numbers. So they only need so much oil in 1936. They're not running all of their Air Force 24/7, fighting the Germans or somebody. I mean, they do have some skirmishes on their borders, but they're not doing that much in 1936. They're not driving all their tank divisions. They're not driving all of their trucks around in 1936, their military trucks every day as much as they can. So, yes, I know this is a bit of a rant here, but the equivalent of these things that increase oil refining, steel production, through the tree, is part of the idea of expanding the, not just the literal how many oil wells are drilled and whatnot, but also pipelines and tankers and rail tankers. But look, you don't need a rail car that has a big tank on it to move oil. You just use 50-gallon oil drums and stack them on rail cars and go. Pour them out at the other end, and then when the train comes back, they come back with empty 50-gallon drums and just keep filling them up. It's not terribly efficient, but you can just do that. So I don't trust. I understand that this is a game, and when you find a new oil field, okay, well, we'll just adjust this because we'll just take the oil down a little bit from over here. That's probably, there's probably too much, and then add it to this here, and so you don't add any more oil. Okay. But I found this. And here, I found this. This is now in black ice. This was, and they also added the coal here too, the coal and oil. This was a bunch of oil that you dig with shovels out of the ground, basically. You don't do oil wells, you mine this oil, and then you squeeze it, basically. It's sort of like in a mushy clay kind of configuration. But they could also just burn the mushy clay. That's why there's coil. Coil, together coil. That's why there's also coal here for energy, because Estonia, and then they're occupied by the Soviet Union or occupied by Germany, continues to just use it as a burning in a similar way that you would use coal, shoveling it into furnaces to make heat and boil water and generate electricity and whatnot. So it was used as a unchanged from coming out of the ground, basically, was used as a coal substitute. But they were, especially early on, the Germans, after World War I, when this was sort of being discovered up here, was very interested in developing it, even when there were cheaper ways of getting oil out of the ground, because, well, it's up here, and maybe if you're going to war again with Britain and France, but maybe not the Soviet Union, that might be a secure rear area supply of oil for Germany. So mainly this was developed by when it was Estonia, by German-owned development companies that were partially owned or whatever by Estonia, but and the Germans, whole lot of stuff there. So, hail Dutch submarines in World War II. Yes, thanks Arna for that. And so here, does this, in the 1936 estimation of how much oil is available in the world, well, they're producing out here mainly for local consumption and a bit of regional consumption, for oil here, but not much. But I don't know that any of this was totaled into the whatever global survey that some company did of oil production. So I think they're playing a little too much of a zero-sum game in Hearts of Iron 4. I know this is a game and not a simulation. I know that, but I do think capabilities of oil fields were not being fully utilized, and I think the research time is overdone in some cases. So that's sort of my rant on resources, and I think generally they're doing a good job in HOI 4 on that. Okay, single engine air. Grayed out, good. What I wonder is where the hell the Hungarians were getting all their alumina from for their aluminum manufacturing. That's one thing I haven't looked into yet, really. Yes, certainly. Rare materials, yes, certainly. Okay, well, let's give this a save. And we're going to end the episode, not the live stream, but the episode. I want to thank everyone watching very much for liking the videos. If you've got any questions, comments, tips, the Belgians, French, whoever, pushing back, you're a bit good. Please post them below. Love hearing from you. See you next time for, yes, even more Hearts of Iron.